And what is good, everybody? I am your host, 2400Y2K, and welcome back to Bird Dogs. This is episode 18. Yeah, it's been a couple months. I'm aware. Again, this is my bad, but it's actually for the better. I'm in school now, so there's that. And I recently I took a trip to Colorado, man. What a blast. It was so much fun just being able to go out there, hang out. I love Denver. I love Denver. I love Colorado in general, but right now Denver is my favorite place there. Man, it was a blast. Me and my buddy went down, just me and him. We drove and we went to all kinds of places. To start off, the eats is so good there, man. Like, I genuinely cannot express enough how good the eats are in a place like that. It's all kinds of, it's really diverse when it comes to the food. My bad. But there's all kinds of like Spanish restaurants. You got your normal shit too. You know what I mean? You got Burger John's. Places to get like sandwiches, hot dogs, things like that. But the real good ass places, they're like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. It just depends on what you want. Me and my buddy, we would hit a lot of like chain stuff kind of, but it was still really good, man. We went to Benihana. That was my first time having that. That was real gas. That shit is so good. It cost it cost more than I was expecting, but it wasn't that bad. And really, for the amount you pay for the amount of food and the quality of food you get, I think it's a worth it trade. Yeah, I had a really good time with all the eats. Benihana was one. Um, what else did I have? I had. I'm trying to think. It was Wingstop. I had Wingstop, and that was straight. That was delicious, man. We don't have that where I'm at, and it's really whack. I like them way better than B Dubs or any other wings I've had, but maybe that's just biased because I'm going to a different city, and it's different from what I know. But I didn't necessarily think that our places hold up to what's down there. That's just me, but yeah, I really didn't. I don't know. Or here, I really don't rock with it, and down there, I did. My bad. It's late. I'm trying to record this because some people told me that it's been a while since I've recorded my last ones. What I'm thinking about doing is starting to like play games because it's hard to just sit here and look at a screen for 30 minutes sometimes. Like, it's not hard, like in the sense that it's like physically difficult, but like mentally, it's hard to just like look at different objects, like just look at the computer screen, look at the wall, and like be entertained. You know what I mean? And it's solo. I'm solo, which that's my bad. I need to get a guest on here. I'm just nervous to do that too because it's hard enough to talk to people regularly, but on a social media platform, I think it's a lot, or at least for me, it feels a lot different. And you just kind of gotta watch what you say, and it's different than having conversations with your friends, which is what I'm used to and what I'm fairly good at. Which is why I kind of want to start which is why I kind of want to start it. Which is why I kind of wanted to start this anyways, is because I wanted to have conversations with my friends because we have all types of talks and conversations and all that on Xbox, but it's hard to broadcast it into onto like a platform because it's just different when you're being recorded as well. It changes the dynamic, which I've had to get used to, and it is quite a bit. It's different, but you know what I mean, we strive. I'm trying to release stuff. I'm trying to keep stuff coming out. So again, that's my bad. But anyways, back to Denver. I had a blast. All the eats. Wingstop. Cheesecake Factory. I don't know why Cheesecake Factory gets a bad rap. Like, I've heard people call it like ghetto or like, I don't know, not that good. Like they're like, oh, they think it's real. People think it's fancy. It's not fancy. And like, It's not fancy, I guess, but it's pretty good. Like, and the prices aren't terrible. I was expecting the prices to be like, you know what I mean, like out of the roof, but the actual prices on the food itself wasn't that bad. And like, we tipped generously, which, you know what I mean? I think that's what you should do, especially the guy was really entertaining. He was really nice. He was doing bits. So we had a good time at the Cheesecake Factory. I smoked a few doinks to the moon. You know what I mean? Being my birthday and all, I went to the dispo, went to a few dispos. Um, man, that was fun. Um, just doing, you know what I mean? Just doing what you do at that age. You know, if you're down there, you know, that's what we went down there for pretty much. So we went, we hit dispos, we tried all the goodies. Um, my homie showed me Interstellar. That movie's really good, but like I was slumping out, right? Because we got back and I I think I popped some edibles and I was just chilling. And then we smoked like two joints and like I don't know, a couple bong rips. Like we was trying to do it up. We was trying to have a good time. And yeah, we sat down on the couch. I was already starting to get like in and out. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Anybody who's ever been that fucked up or like gets that high, you know what I'm talking about when like you're not blacking in and out. I wouldn't describe it like that. Like you can still remember and like but you like fall asleep basically. Like you take little naps. Like you close your eyes and you're still kind of aware of the world. You still kind of hear everything going on and like you're trying to keep yourself conscious and awake and you're like, fuck. It also kind of happens when you're really tired too. But in this specific instance, I was pretty fucked up. And I was trying to watch it and it was good. But I fell asleep halfway through. The scene I remember most, and it's not supposed to be funny. My bad. But it's not supposed to be funny. Golly. It's not supposed to be funny, but it's the Matt Damon scene where he's like, I remember he's sacrificing for something. This is what I'm talking about. Like I remember the scenes, but I don't remember the context of a lot of it. But I remember Matt Damon was trying to get out of the ship or trying to like save humanity or destroy humanity. Something. He turned out to be the villain. I don't know, but he was in like the airlock or whatever. And that airlock, you could just hear the button be pressed, and you saw Matt Damon just get sucked out of the ship. And then the craziest part to me is it just goes silent. Like there's no there's it like I can't remember who shot the film. Christopher Nolan, I think. Yeah. Um, those shots where it just goes quiet are really crazy. And when he gets sucked out, it's like it was like fire, and it's just completely silent. I thought that was a really good scene, but it was funny, and I don't know if it was meant to be funny. We had a ball down there. That was a lot of the nights we would just get fucked up and watch movies. We played Marvel Rivals. You know, a lot of people are a lot on the trend. I think it's fun. It's like a more fun Overwatch. I tried Overwatch for a while and like I couldn't get into it. I didn't really like it. I like the little hamster guy. Shout out to I think his name's Hammond or something like that. I don't know. He's a little hamster. He's pretty dope. But yeah, it was pretty fun. Just being able to smoke freely in the house is big big ups. Like I enjoyed that. That was really fun to not be able to not have to worry about that. And I don't know, just be able to watch movies and like get fucked up. Which I don't know, that's something stupid and it's not really that important or cool. But it was cool to me and I had I had a really good time. I was laughing. The Airbnb was sick as fuck. It had like Star Wars comics and stuff on the wall, and it had what other thing? I had like or Hulk, the Avengers. It was a pretty sick little B&B. It was like a little 2 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, a little living room and a kitchen. And yeah, we just kicked it. We just kicked it. Had a good time. Smoked, watched movies. Ate all the leftovers when we had it. There was like desserts. We ate hella desserts. Cheesecake Factory, obviously. But yeah, man, it was just a different experience. It's good to get out of town. Um, I get sick of being in the city I'm in, and it's nice to get out of town and just have a little getaway, just kind of a little 2 week or however long it was getaway and go to one of my favorite cities, just enjoy it, just be out there, just hang out. Yeah, it was just laughs and going all over the place. And yeah, man, I got a new whip. I got a new whip after, which which kind of sucks because I didn't get to take it down there, and my car was scaring the fuck out of me, my old car. But it's good now. I mean, it made it there, made it back, and now it's just chilling. So I got a new whip, which I'm pretty excited about. I'm pretty happy about. It's a Nissan. It's pretty. It's like I don't know. I'm not gonna give out all the details, but it's a nice car. It didn't cost too terribly much, especially for the mileage on it. The mileage was crazy good. So um, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really happy with that. Things have just been on a upturn, kind of, man. And sorry I haven't been to the pod. I know I should have. Or sorry, Bird Dogs. It's been a while. Sorry I haven't been back to Bird Dogs, but yeah, I've just been trying to get shit together. I was working at a job, and I don't know. I don't know if I want to talk about it yet. It's still a little soon, but like, give it some time, and I think I'll tell some more stories from there. I did not like that place. That job was fuck. That job fucking sucked. The boss was cool or whatever, the manager, but everyone else there kind of fucking sucked, and it was just a problem. And ultimately, like, I took my little 2 week vacation or whatever, and you know, it is what it is. It's history. So that's that. But damn, I lost my train of thought. But I was just saying, yeah, shit's been on an upturn for me. I've been real happy. Just getting it together, going to school, got a new whip, got to go on a vacation, had a good birthday. Pretty good, I think. And then, like, for the most part, and hopefully I can start recording more. I want to do more stuff. Like, I want to record actual videos, just out and about, like different spots in the hills. I don't know, just videography. I don't know. I think that's what you call it, videography, stuff like that. I don't know. I got passion for this media shit. I really do like it. I like this. I like recording the pod in general, which I know sounds ass backwards because, like, if you like it, why don't you do it? But like, that's still always been a hard thing with me, is just being um like willpower, just like telling myself to do it, get off my ass. You know what I mean? If I'm not made to do stuff, I usually don't do it. But it's funny, if I'm made to do stuff, like, I'll do it to a T. Like, when I'm at work or when I was at work and stuff, if you tell me to do it, like, I would do it. You know what I mean? I might, get quiet. I might get a little mad about it. But at the end of the day, yeah, I'm willing to do work, especially when it's put in front of me and I actually need to do it. So that's where school and stuff helps out, which I need to do homework, speaking of. So after this episode, I'm probably gonna go do some homework. So yeah, I really want to get out, do different types of media. Hopefully, record. Maybe start streaming. That's what I've thought about doing, because it's just like a logical step, and I feel like I'm better off rip, or like in a live performance, better than recording more so. Recording for me is just goofy. I don't know why I get so flustered. Even in this, I don't know if I'll leave it in. I'll try and edit it out probably, but like, I get like flustered or like stuttery or don't know what to say, or like think about the audience too much. Which, it's not a large audience, but the point is, like, I just am self conscious. So um it's a little hard for me to record these sometimes, especially for as long as I want to do them, because I don't think like little 20-minute videos of me just talking makes very much sense, right? You can't call that a podcast, but that's not what is that? And if I don't add actual, like, footage, like footage I've captured of me, like, like talking in, I don't know, vlog style, you know what I mean? It's if I don't do it in a vlog, then it feels weird. If it's not like a story time or something specific, and I just make videos to talk like this for 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and I don't feel like that's very, I don't feel like that's I don't like that form of content. I don't know what you'd call that. I don't know. But this is a podcast. This makes sense. Like 40 minutes to an hour, it makes sense to me. I don't know why. I think it's just because I'm tired. Like, I'm like forgetting things and just fucking up a little bit in general. But we keep it rolling. We keep it rolling. So yeah. The thing I was thinking about the other day, right, is my grandpa's stories. My grandpa's like a really important part of my life, and I might talk about him a little bit more on future episodes and whatnot. But he's a really cool guy, and if you know him in person, like my grandpa's the shit. He's actually my great grandpa. He's a little bit older, but he's like 90. But yeah, he's told me all kinds of crazy stories, man. And one I was thinking about the other day, right, that was making me laugh. And this is so funny, is because my grandpa was in the Navy in the 50s, right? Which this is the ramp up, like this is the Cold War, but this is kind of the ramp up to like the more, Vietnam. I think this is right around Korea. So, you know what I mean? This is kind of the build up era. This isn't like really into the Cold War yet, but you know what I mean? This is just getting our teeth in. And my grandpa so let's start out. He didn't want to be in the Navy. He didn't want to be in the service at all. He wanted to be a trucker. He and his brother got like a little trucking company together. And like they put enough money together, they made a little trucking company, and he was gonna be a trucker, and he was gonna move, whatever. This is a good time for trucking in the 50s, like you got the Teamsters, like the unions and all that going on. So this is a good time to be a trucker. So he's happy, he's excited. And right as he gets all this ready and like he's excited to be a trucker, bam, they hit him with a draft letter. So off rip, you're not happy, right? You didn't really choose to be there. Like that off rip has to make you upset, right? This is why the whole idea of drafting has kind of been scrapped and as a whole doesn't really work. I think we're kind of seeing that, especially with like Russia, some of these conscripted troops, which I heard that was over. Uh, I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard the Russia-Ukraine war is over. Um, but oh, where was that? 50s Teamsters. Oh yeah. So he's a conscript, right? He's already not happy that he has to be there, right? He's like these Russian troops, like um, he doesn't want to be there. This happens a lot in conscript armies, especially in cases like his, where you just set up a business with your brother. Like it's not like he's poor or you know what I mean. He's not like he was in like a really bad spot. It's not like he needed the service, and he didn't have enough money to not be a part of the service. Or this was kind of before that. This was kind of before the Vietnam stuff. So I think even the not the super wealthy, but I think even some wealthy people got drafted. Either way, um, he gets drafted. He's not happy about it. He's got to leave his trucking company, and he's fucking pissed. So he leaves, and he gets drafted to the Navy. So he goes to the Navy. I don't remember specifically what his job was, or what his boat was. I don't think I should give that stuff out, anyways. Um, but he was in the Navy, and I think he like worked. I think he was like a mechanic, partly, and then just like a regular seaman or whatever you call it. Which that sounds crazy, but don't make no jokes about Grandpa. So he's in the Navy, and he's like fixing shit, and as a kid, you ask him all the crazy shit. Did you get in any combat? He didn't really talk about any of that, but he did say that it was some of the most fun years of his life, or like he looks on it badly, but he did say like he did get to go all over the world, kind of. He got to go all over Asia, and not just in like a pillage awful kind of way, but like he got to go to Japan, and I think Hong Kong, all those places back in the 50s. So it's kind of a bittersweet thing. But yeah, he was in the Navy. He was doing whatever. And one of the funniest stories he told me is he said one day they brought us in like this big room on the ship or whatever. And it's me and a bunch of other guys. And they're training people. This is the training on what to do if there's a nuclear attack, right? And I'm sure you guys have heard the stories of people in that era, or know the stereotype of like, they taught kids to just like hide under their desks and like, if a nuke dropped, and it's like, what the fuck is that gonna do, right? And this is kind of a similar concept because it's like, so they brought him into this big ass room, right? And these are a bunch of sailors, these are a bunch of gruff ass sailors, and they're, they're not happy. They're not happy to be, summoned to this room or whatever. And they're giving the spiel on what to do if there's a nuclear attack. And I shit you not, this is what my grandpa told me. They said, and this is the funniest shit in the world. And he said, they told me to tuck my pants into my socks, roll my hat over my ears, tuck my arms in my sleeve, and try to get my shirt over my face. And to me, that is like, that's one of the funniest things ever because, one, you know what I mean? Knowing what we know now, like, that's not going to do shit. And that's what my grandpa said. My grandpa said to me at the end of that, he said, do you know what I think they, yeah, I think I said my real name, whatever. He's like, do you know what I think? I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, I think that, I was like, do you know? He's like, do you know what I think? I was like, what do you think? And he's like, I think that wouldn't have done shit. And I bursted out laughing because really, you know what I mean? It's not going to do shit. That's not going to protect you. If a nuclear bomb is close enough to your boat, you know, it's not, number one, it's going to blow up. Your fucking boat is going to explode, which, at that point, that's silly. And even if you're far enough away to not get directly blown up, you're still in the range of radiation and the cloud and the ash and all that, the fallout of the bomb. So you putting your fucking, and I understand it. It's more like a placebo morale kind of thing. I think, you know what I mean, to make people feel better, but still, it didn't. It didn't make my grandpa feel better. I'm sure it didn't make any like of his shipmates feel better. So all in all, it was pointless and really pointless venture. And I just think it's funny that that's what they were telling these grown ass sailors to do. And like, it's just funny knowing what we know now and the gear we have, like when we went over in 2003 to Iraq and we had the chem suits and stuff like that we have now, and just how far technology's come, that to think that my grandpa in the military, the same military that's around today, very different, but the same military, that's the same Navy that's around today, and he was being told to fold his, hat and shit. It's just funny to think the difference in the military structure, especially post Vietnam, because I think, in my personal opinion, that played a crucial role in why we do things the way we do today, the logistics structure we have. I mean, World War II, arguably, played the biggest role, but I think post Vietnam things especially changed. Squad tactics, the search and destroy. Military technologies too. Body armor, flashlights, night vision, air support. Air support was a big thing in Vietnam, but again, that's where we learned, things went super poor. People napalming their own troops, hitting a lot of civvies, which still happens, but I think it happens less so now, which it's not, you know what I mean? It's not really better. It shouldn't happen. I think especially, I have my own opinions about the military and things, but I'd say the military of today is quite a bit different from the one in Vietnam and pre-Vietnam. And because of that conflict, ultimately changed for the better, which still has, quite a few flaws, but it is better, especially when it comes to like actual war tactics. Granted, the terrain changed, and what it would look like to fight a desert or a jungle war in 2003. We went to Panama and stuff in the 80s, and like Grenada, but to go to an Asian country in 2003 and war, and we didn't have any reason to, so there's no reason. But just saying, for the hypothetical, if we went to Asia in that time period, I don't know. I don't know what the results would be. I definitely think it'd be better than Vietnam, especially the structure of command, the way NCOs are, the way command has changed. Um, I think the difference in drug use, which I still think is a thing, but definitely not on the scale of like Vietnam, um, where you had people openly smoking heroin and or shooting up heroin and smoking opium. So, and they're made out of the same thing, and smoking weed, um, coke, like you know what I mean. That, and I want to do more studies on it and learn more about it. But that became a real big part of the culture in Vietnam was drugs. Um, that's for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of factors, but you can imagine combat has to do with it. Um, the availability, and again, the lax command structure, especially when you're in an environment like that with the communication systems we had at the time. Um, just general lack of morale, especially in the later years. Unfit officers, people sending men out to die. Um, just being in general, like just being incompetent in general, and not having a good not having good cohesion with their squad. Which still, of course, happens now, but again, I think it's quite a bit different from that era and what happened, and just um, the general. Oh my god, my bad, I dropped my phone. But just the general layout of Vietnam, and obviously the politics have changed, kinda. Um, but yeah, I think that was a big turning point. I don't know how I got on that tangent. Well, I guess I do because my grandpa was in the military, and it just made me think of the big shift from rolling your hats down over your ears to chem suits. I think tanks. I think the Abrams. I don't know if I'm wrong on this. I'll have to ask one of my military buddies because he loves his tanks, and I love that. I think the Abrams is sealed. Like I think if you drop like chems on it, it's sealed. And I'm sure they still put baby gloves on, like still give training seminars and that are stupid and don't make much sense. Um, but it is just funny to see the difference and similarities in the military from from 1950 whatever to 2004 and 5, which I don't know too much about the military now. Obviously, it's harder to research because one, there's no active conflicts. Two, information as the war is happening or as a conflict is happening, or just on the military in general as it's the present. It's harder to get just because you don't want your enemies to have your strategies and the same things we study as like people who learn history and military as a hobby. Some people study as like NFL film and could use for the wrong reason. So it's harder to get information on the military nowadays, but it again has evolved from that 2003 2004 style. I don't think quite as drastically as from Nam to even the 90s when we got in the earliest, which was the Gulf War, but it still changed quite a bit, and we'll see with the next upcoming conflict, which who knows what it'll be, but um wars, or what is it, war is business and business is good. So um so I'm sure there will be some conflict sometime, but and then I'll get to study it more, which is good and bad. Good for me, bad for the world, and could be bad for me. So there's that. But um yeah, I don't know. I just got on a little Vietnam tangent. See what time we're at here. We're at 33 minutes. Um, that's not bad, but there's some stuff I'll have to edit out of here, which or I'll try to. Sometimes I don't. Again, sometimes I get lazy, which I need to stop doing, and I'll just slap this together and throw it out there. But yeah, that was my little spiel on war in Vietnam and the difference in tactics and what you can learn from lost battles. Sound like Jocko Willink. Um, if any of y'all know who that is, he's a real serious Navy SEAL or whatever, ex Navy SEAL, and he talks like that, and he does that on his books. Like he reads like books or whatever at the start, which I've thought about doing. Like he'll read like a passage from like a war book, which he's a little more fortunate and a little older, so he usually reads the books and like has the guests on. Sometimes he doesn't. But, like he'll give like quotes like that and stuff, and be like, we learned from this today that we can be better warriors, better sons, better brothers, and better lovers. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those little lessons, right? You can learn a lot from battles lost. It is good to win. You should always strive to win. That's everybody wants to win. I want to win. You want to win. Everybody should want to strive for greatness and win. But if you don't win a battle, or a basketball game, or a tournament, or a drawing competition, or you know what I mean, if you don't win, that doesn't mean it's a loss, or it's a loss, but like you can learn from a loss, which a lot of people, I don't think, at least, even a lot of people don't think about that. Even I catch myself struggling to look at all the positives that come out of a loss, and all the different pathways that open up, and just the different person you become. And when you fail in a certain walk of life, you can really, you can do a lot with that. Like you don't have to sit on it, and you don't have to turn it into a thing of hate or rage, or you know what I mean. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It can definitely be a motivator, and you can use it to do a lot of stuff. And I think that's a good lesson. The one that the U.S. military had to learn is sometimes you lose a battle, sometimes you lose a Vietnam, and people died for that. That's, I'm not trying to undermine the meaning or anything, or those people's lives, but I'm just describing it as a conflict, and especially as the U.S. government, which I didn't send those troops there. The U.S. government sent those troops there. By the way, that was not me. So, but they had to learn, unfortunately, through American lives and lots of money, how to do war better, how to structure your military better, how to install personnel where, you know what I mean, how to run, I think just run squads in a better fashion. It's more they, I don't know how to describe it. It's like if there's a nail, you need a hammer. If there's a tree, you need a chainsaw. You know what I mean? It became more like that, I think, where we became more specialized and more, this situation needs this kind of squad. It's the special forces, obviously, things like that. And because you got to think, at the start of the war, the grunts don't know. You know what I mean? It's a lot different than the other wars, and your enemy's not blatant. And a lot of it's night fighting, and just things you'd never seen before. Yeah, I mean, you'd seen them before in war, but as a fresh GI coming off of World War II in Korea, you didn't really expect. You didn't really know what to expect, but you know what I mean. It's a lot harder with VC than it is a uniformed enemy and people with tanks and stuff. And granted, the VC and the North Vietnamese had some stuff, but on the large scale, you know what I mean. You're getting attacked by guerrillas. You're getting attacked by small bands of 6 to 12 people. One machine gunner, 5 riflemen, or whatever. How many riflemen? It's usually one machine gunner. One submachine gunner, one assault rifle. And at the early stages of the war, it was like bolties and older rifles. But as the war progressed, it became the AK because it's cheap and mass produced, and China and Russia both produced them as their main arms, so it was easy to give to the Vietnamese. So towards the later stages of the war, even their weaponry starts to beef up, and it starts to be a different war. Instead of your granddad's war or your dad's war, where it's fought with M1 Grands and you know what I mean, whatever rifle they have, and some people have like the PPSH or the Thompson, and then there's like a squad gun, the DP, or if you're American, the Browning, 30 cal. But you move onto Vietnam and towards the 60s, mid 60s. Well, we got there in like 65 major when we put boots on the ground for real, I think. And so I think by 67, 68 for sure, the AK starts to be the main rifle of the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese, which creates a severe problem when you have burst rifles that jam in the mud that are dog shit. Um, and the first rifle they had to replace, which took a lot of work and effort to take all those back and switch ammos from 7.62 to 5.56, and you know what I mean. The logistics of switching from the M14, which was the main battle rifle, to the M16. That took a lot of effort, and for that to be a failure in my opinion, it not being built for those kind of conditions and something that has to be constantly cleaned and maintained, and you're in mud, and you know what I mean, you're just getting jammed mid firefight and all these things wrong with it. It was it was a death trap. Versus they have an AK, which is one of, if anybody knows anything about guns even just a little bit, that the AK is one of the most rough and tough rifles out there. You may not be able to customize it very much. The modern variants a little bit more, but you know what I mean. You have a reliable rifle. You can throw that thing in the mud. You can leave it in the water, in the freezer, put it through heat, run it over. I've seen them. I've seen one with a bullet in the selector for the select fire. Kind of in the middle of the gun, and it still shoots. So that's what we're dealing with, what I mean? And it's fully auto. It's select fire between full auto and single fire. And so, it's quite a bit different warfare there when you're dealing with someone who has, I wouldn't say better weaponry, better for the conditions though. I'd say better for the conditions and time. And the environment mixed with that, you know what I mean? You're able to navigate the environment at night, and you can live off of rice rations, and you have a tunnel network, and you have this new automatic rifle, and the other variants of the rifles that come out later are all variants. The RPD, the squad, which would be like a squad machine gun weapon. It's just a variant of the AK. I believe its bolt is just reversed, like it's just upside down or something like that. Pretty much all their weaponry starts to get like that, as well as they get the SAM turrets. The SAM turrets start tearing people up, which are the surface-to-air missiles, which are taking out American choppers and planes, as well as they get things like the Dishka, AA guns, which they had some AA at the start, but as more money and weaponry comes from China and the Soviet Union, but China more so because it's closer. As more of it comes, then they're able to put up a better resistance. And I don't know. That was just a tale of Vietnam. I just got on a little Vietnam tangent, which that's my bad. Again, I wouldn't really say my bad. It's something to talk about. It's something I like, and I don't know. I just I felt like talking about it because I really do rock with Vietnam. There might be a couple more Vietnam episodes. I did not too long ago. I watched the Ken Burns documentary on Vietnam, which was pretty good. If you've ever watched any Ken Burns documentaries, he makes really good documentaries. I think he has one on the Civil War. He has several, which I found him from, I think, Shane Gillis. I mean, he's been around a long time. His stuff was on the History Channel. I know that for a fact. But some of his stuff. But I found him from Shane Gillis, and he's like this history filmmaker, and he made stuff about Vietnam where like interviewed him, got footage, told the whole story in like, I think it's 10 parts, and they're like an hour to 2 hours each. So it's a pretty long doc. It's really good though. It really gets into like that's where I talk about like the logistics, things like that, which were becoming a problem, especially in the terrain, the climate. We're not from there. We have to use things like Da Nang Airport. Whereas all their stuff's, locally supplied, or it's across the border. and they have a different understanding of war. When it's a fight for your country, it's a little different. They were moving how much? I'm just curious. How much does artillery weigh? So they would haul these things, right? This was in the documentary. They would haul these big ass artillery cannons, which are like the things that shoot the which I know, most of my viewers are gonna know what this are, but some might not. But artillery is like the guns that you see in like the World War I stuff, and like the big ass cannons that like shoot the big shells that go boom. You know what I mean? They fly up in the air and they whistle and like they fucking crash down and they blow shit up. Um, yeah, that's what artillery is. But they would get these artillery pieces from China and they would carry them through the Ho Chi Minh Trail, which the Ho Chi Minh Trail was how the VC and how the Viet Cong managed to navigate around through Vietnam, and it was how they managed to get supplies, men, resources, all that down from North Vietnam, which is where they were, their home station, the home base, down. Also, I think from China and stuff, and they move it down from there down to the south where they're waging war against the South Vietnamese government and the United States. And so they would haul these things, which are the rounds alone weigh 95 pounds, 155 millimeter artillery, which I don't know if they were that big. It's probably a smaller one. You know what I mean? It's probably not the big ass 155 millimeter artillery. They're probably smaller guns. Probably World War II era stuff. You know what I mean? The wheeled ones that the Germans and stuff had to take out tanks and stuff like that. And but they would wheel these giant guns, which weighed, I don't know, I can't find it here, but you have to imagine if a round weighs 95 pounds, and we'll say we'll cut the gun down 50 millimeters, so we'll cut the round down to 60 pounds. You know what I mean? It's still going to be a heavy ass gun. I mean, we're talking like 1,000 pounds, something like that. And they're like pulling it with like, 30 people, 40 people or whatever, and like an ox down a trail. And when they get to the parts where the ox can't pull it, they have to like hoist it down. You know what I mean? All those guys have to like hoist that weight down to like a team that's waiting at the bottom. It was actually pretty intricate and pretty cool. I never thought of it like that. Me and I'm sure a lot of others don't think about war or hadn't thought about war in a way like that, where about logistics. You know what I mean? You always think about the combat, some guy running another with a rifle shooting at each other, tank combat, plane combat, boom, 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 all the explosions, all that. I don't really think about the supply lines and the fact that they have to make miniature towns and stuff like that, miniature factories essentially, or whatever, just for processing supplies. You know what I mean? Like when we take Normandy in World War II, then we have to land all these supplies there. We have to distribute supplies, talking food, water, ammo. You know what I mean? And food, water, ammo, or food and water for people, but ammo for everything. Ammo for the tanks, ammo for the artillery guns themselves, the tanks themselves, ammo for your guns, the guns themselves, just all this stuff. You know what I mean? And they're in multiple chambers. It's just a nightmare. And to think that they were on these trails, this long trail. I want to look this up. It was pretty long. How long was the Ho Chi Minh Trail? The Ho Chi Minh Trail was 9,940. Okay, it itself wasn't that long, but it was 9,940 mile web of tracks. So it wasn't just. It's called the Ho Chi Minh Trail, but it wasn't just one trail. You know what I mean? It had several roads, several little pathways, some smaller, some bigger. You know what I mean? So they can, because sometimes they were able to get trucks and stuff on it, but for the most part not, because the Americans are bombing it. But but you can once in a while get a slip a truck through. At night they turn their lights off and we get trucks through. So they did get trucks through and stuff. But some of them are smaller roads. Some of them are smaller pathways. Some of them wind down, like I said, like cliff sides where you have to hoist the thing down. Um, it's just miles. It's just 9,000 miles or pretty much 10,000 miles. Oh, this here says it was close. Adding up all together, it was about 12,000 miles of trail. So 12,000 miles of just different pathways through the jungle, of shitty pathways to the jungle. Because you can't make real roads and stuff because they get bombed. And they would fix them enough for trucks to go on them and stuff, but they're not real roads. You know what I mean? It's just dirt packed in there and stuff because, again, they're getting hit with bombs. So, um, but yeah, they would like take these big giant howitzers or these big giant cannons and stuff and um, move them all the way south through that 12,000 miles of trail, which, that's insanity. I hear just horror stories of people backpacking. There was a guy in my class, and he told a story about backpacking, and like that sounds crazy. You know what I mean? He said he had like, I think they said they had like 80 pounds or 70 pounds of gear on him. Imagine that you and like 12 other people's or you and 40 other people splitting a 2,000 pound load, you know what I mean, and carrying that miles day in day out. And you might be able to switch and whatnot, but just the general idea of getting through the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and anybody on the Ho Chi Minh Trail is part of the NVA or is part of the Viet Cong, and they are, you know what I mean, you are expected, you have to do something. You can't just be on the trail. You have to be carrying some sort of supplies, ammo, men, medical equipment, any of that. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I just shout out to Ken Burns. That was a fire documentary, and yeah, man, I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed talking about Vietnam a little bit today. I know I'm cutting it a little short, just because if I go on and on and on, I mean, I could probably legitimately stay on this topic without, pretty steadily for at least like 2 hours. Um, so I'm gonna kind of draw it back a little bit here and try to remember. I'm gonna take notes and stuff. I'm gonna listen to this one, take notes, and I'm gonna try and do a second Vietnam part to this. If you guys like this one, just because it's so interesting to me, it's a really interesting conflict. Just the whole everything around it. What really got me into it as a kid is like the aesthetic. The music, dun, 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 like the guitar. I'm on a highway to hell, or what's the most famous ones? Unfortunate son, it ain't me, it ain't me, I ain't no fortunate son. You know what I mean? That whole vibe of them. Really, what got me too is the choppers. Seeing the troops getting dropped off in choppers up and down gunships, stuff like that really piqued my interest. I don't know why. I think it's Star Wars. If you remember the gunships from Star Wars, those things were so fucking, the clone gunships, the ones with like the doors that slid open like a minivan, like they both popped out the side. That was so cool to me as a kid. I don't know why. I just love those things. I have like 3 of them as Lego, the Lego ones. Now that I'm an adult, I love those things. I think they're the coolest, and so I think that really also caught my eye because I knew Star Wars before I knew Vietnam. So, but when I did get into that, I think the helicopter aesthetic and the troops getting dropped off and jumping out, and the M60, looks so fucking cool, and the side gunner, we've never seen a war like it since, which for good reason, but it's interesting that we had this, we made this big switch to helicopter warfare, and we tried it out, and with the country's terrain, it sort of made sense. There's a lot of foliage, they made a lot of bases on hills, and I don't know, I think it was just real easy for me to get into that, and just the combat itself. I know it sounds brutal, and it is, and I'm not trying to dehumanize it. I'm not trying to depersonalize it or, disrespect the vets or anything like that. But it is interesting to me, the combat and the actual ferociousness of the war. I've listened to an audiobook. I can't remember who by. I'll have to find it next time and shout it out. but I listened to an audiobook by a Vietnam ex-Vietnam vet, or ex-Vietnam vet, a Vietnam vet, and his experience in the war, and just how, how it is. And I don't know what that's like, and hopefully I don't ever have to, but like I've never seen somebody die, not like that, you know what I mean? I've seen people pass away as old people in the hospital and stuff like that. um I've seen people flatline at the hospital and stuff, but I've never seen I've never had to do that. I've never had to be in a scenario where, it's combat, true combat. I've had scuffles, I've had my fist fights, but I was never in a shootout, you know what I mean? Even if you are, it's it's a lot different of a shootout, at least in my opinion, from what I can grasp just from reading it. Um, it's a lot different than even, and that does have its own traumatic effects and its own thing, a shootout and a shooting in general. But being in war and understanding this is your job and understanding there is no retreat. I mean, there is, but like not from that. You know what I mean? If you are actual combat, if you are an infantryman, and you have to do that in a time of war, there is no anyway. You know what I mean? There's retreat. Your unit might retreat from someplace. There might be a tactical retreat or whatever, but you yourself cannot retreat from the duty of killing someone. Maybe Hacksaw Ridge, I guess, but I'm just talking in general for the general infantry, the GIs in Vietnam, more specifically. I guess anywhere, right? You have to kill in anywhere, but this is what I'm more describing for Vietnam, and just that feeling like of having to face that and having to kill somebody. And some people are excited about it or whatever, but I think for a lot of people it was hard and jarring, and it's brutal. And I've been able to see that from Ukraine footage, from, you know what I mean, the modern wars, which is jarring in its own. And I'll probably get into that hopefully on an episode soon, maybe next episode. But being able to see footage from the modern war, like Ukraine, and being able to see the helmet footage in 4K, and being able to see all this drone footage, and do you know what I mean? All this footage of war, like real POVs where they're shooting and killing people and being shot and killed or being stabbed to death or being in a knife fight. That was one of the most crazy ones I've seen. And I've been on the internet, I've seen a lot of crazy things. Growing up, there was what was that? What was the site? Fuck. Live Leak. Live Leak, with all kinds of those, people dying, people breaking their arms, their legs, all kinds of crazy shit. But this is truly horrific. To see, I saw two men. I think it was a North Korean it was definitely versus a Ukrainian. I think it was North Korean or Russian, either or, but I'm pretty sure it was North Korean. Anyways, they fought, and the fight turned into a stat, or like a knife fight. Like they had guns at first, and then they got close enough and got in a fight in the rubble. I mean, it was just crazy. First of all, to see like at first they were shooting at each other, and then the guy, we're seeing it from the POV, I believe, of the Ukrainian. He's shooting into this little hut. He's in like a pile of bricks. He moves up from the bricks, shooting at this little hut, and I think he must have ran out of ammo or something. He hucks a grenade in the window, and the guy comes out, and he almost clips him. You could see him fire a couple shots, but he doesn't. And the guy just gets up in his face, and they just start fighting. Like, I guess like every combat throughout all of human history, especially before firearms, they're just in the rocks, like, punching each other. They're wrestling, punching each other. They have their knives out. They're trying to stab each other, but they're both tired as well. They have full kit on. They've been fighting already. They're fatigued. They're tired. So a lot of their attacks are slow, kind of lethargic. It's a very brutal and sad and slow fight. And at one point, the North Korean, I believe, he bites the finger. I don't know if he bites him off, but he bites the hand pretty violently of the of the of the Ukrainian, and you can see blood all over the guy's hand. You know what I mean? He bit his fingers, tried to bite him off. I'm pretty sure. Obviously, they're in a fight for their life, and ultimately the North Korean gets the upper hand. and he stabs him. He stabs him to death. He stabs him a few times. I think you can see him get him a couple times, and the guy just kind of they give up. And I think he gave him props or whatever. From what I could understand from some of the comments I've seen, I think they gave each other props or something or whatever. Said good fight. And the North Korean obviously moved on, and then the footage cuts, and you can assume that the guy in the rubble bled to death. So these kind of things, this kind of combat, being able to see it firsthand like that, or not firsthand, but being able to see it secondhand like that is really puts it into perspective more so, and I think gave me a better understanding of what combat was like throughout war or throughout history, but more so what it was like throughout Vietnam. A lot of close quarters. You're in the jungle. You can't see. The Viet Cong have to hug your belt. That's what they called it, hug your belt. They have to get real close because they don't want artillery or air support to get in close or to bomb them. And if you get in close enough, the Americans won't call it because it'll hit their own troops, which had happened several times. So they would get in so close that sometimes they were knife fighting. They were up in the, you know what I mean? You were putting rifles and pistols in people's faces, and there's close combat, and PID's hard. Well, it's not too hard. You can identify voices, but in the midst of it at night, especially when they're, that's another thing, is the night attacks of Vietnam were pretty notorious, pretty infamous, and it did cost a lot of lives. So that's one thing that I don't want to understate is this was not a light war for the Vietnam. It's not like they just whooped our ass, and you know what I mean. This was not a easy war. This is a high cost for them as well. They lost I think at least 1 million people. Sorry, I'm looking it up real quick. Let's see here. As some 1,100,000 North Vietnam and Viet Cong fighters. So in comparison, we lost 58,220. So around 60,000, because I think there's still some MIA and stuff like that. Bodies were never found. People that died in POW camps were never found, stuff like that. So around 60,000 troops of ours died, which is still a big cost, and shouldn't happen, and it's sad and affects lots of families. But they also lost 1 million people. Think about that percentage wise. I mean, 60,000 casualties versus 1 million. You know what I mean? It was also, that's what I'm saying, it was also like an unfathomably large cost for the Vietnamese. You know what I mean? These engagements, they were losing a lot. As good a tactics as they had and laws of the land and stuff, they can't beat American air power. Certain units like MACV started to get smarter at their tactics. A lot of people started to get smarter at their tactics. The longer people were in country, they taught people more. The longer we were there, the more we learned. So their tactics became less and less useful, and it's hard to explain what cost them so much, but ultimately it just becomes they were finding a superpower, and what the one thing they do have was manpower that we as a country weren't willing to accept. I think the government, or what I mean, I think Nixon, I think they would have been willing to accept more than 60,000 casualties, but we as the American people were not. So ultimately we didn't suffer nearly as many as the Vietnamese. So this was a huge cost for them as well. This wasn't just a easy, overpowering victory. This wasn't just like they were better than us and it was, completely tactics and they were some, you know what I mean? It's not like they were, Navy SEALs in their own right. And, that they are powerful warriors, and I acknowledge them and I respect them. And, but a lot of it came down to numbers as well. They were willing to sacrifice more. They could sacrifice more. And they did. They ultimately did. So it was a high-cost war. But anyways, it's been over an hour now. Um, I got really into this, so I hope y'all enjoy it. I'm gonna go try and edit this tomorrow. It is 1 in the morning right now, so also sorry about my voice. I've been talking a lot. Had to like do speech stuff at school, so sorry about my voice. But I hope y'all enjoy this episode. I really did. I had a blast. I'm so happy to be back. Sorry I left like that. I'm gonna try not to do that no more. I know I always say that, but I'm really not gonna try to. I had a blast making.
Bitch, what we doing here?